Welcome back to Picking Winners. I'm your host, Tony, and today we're picking all of the Week 9 NFL matchups and tossing out a best bet for your listening and or viewing pleasure if you're up on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, to my left, your right, is our meticulously sculpted piece of man meat. Some compare him to Starbucks because not only does he look good, but he smells good, and he makes your day just a little bit better. My co-host, Nate. How we doing, Nate?
I'm doing good. We had a good week last week, so
We
looking
did.
to roll that into this week. But by the looks of it, I think that one of us is gonna have a bad week. But yeah, it was a fun Thursday night too. We were both on opposite ends of the spectrum there,
We were.
but hit on two of the props that we put out in our group text or whatever like that, and then still have the Titans open for a teaser leg the rest of the week. So looking up.
Yep, there you go. I was on the Steelers, Nate was on the Titans. You'll see that if you're looking on YouTube. All right, before we dive into the Week 9 picks, a quick recap of Week 8. I went 11-5, pretty good, up 3.2 units. And Nate crushed it. You went 13-3, up 5 units. Get the
Good
golf
job,
clap
Nate.
going.
Good job, Nate.
And Nate mentioned we have 5 or 6 picks that we're on opposing ends of. So this week's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
You know,
Uh,
something about that last week too, and I was talking to one of our good friends, mutual friend David, about it, was what was it? It was the Kansas City Denver game, right? In the last couple of weeks, I've sat here and I've said, hey, there's a big favorite that is most likely to lose this week. And last week I
yeah.
was like Denver to beat Kansas City at home. And the week before was New England to beat Buffalo. So been sprinkling that, kind of saving some of the days on other stuff that I've been doing, but I don't know, man. It kind of put me over the edge for that week or whatever. So let's see if we can find one this week too. I have one.
Absolutely.
I think I have one.
Toss it in while we go through these picks. For
Yeah.
best bets last week, mine won. It was Minnesota minus 1.5. Yours also won, so we did well there as well. You took the Jets minus 2.5, but I know you were sweating that one out a little bit.
No, no. I wore the Zach Wilson jersey, and speaking of the Zach Wilson jersey, I wore it to work today. Right, it's casual Friday,
Yep.
and people all the time talk to me about sports. For some reason, nobody talked to me today because I was wearing this Zach Wilson jersey. Either they think this guy's a bozo and doesn't know anything, and we've lost all respect for him, or they're like, I want to say Zach Wilson sucks, but this dude's like so out there with wearing this jersey, he might punch me in the face. Like he's ridiculous right now. So I
Uh,
don't know if I scared people off.
I'm gonna say it's the former. Probably the
Yeah,
former.
this guy's a
uh,
lunatic.
our records and season-long standings are going to be displayed on the graphics again if you're watching on YouTube. Any other commentary before we get started?
Nah, I'm
All
good.
right. All right, moving on now then to the Week 9 picks. We're recording this on Friday. We were split again on Tennessee and Pittsburgh, but we'll kick things off with the early morning Sunday games. And as a reminder, all of these lines are pulled from DraftKings again, so you might see something different, but this is going to be a baseline for us. So first one is Miami at Kansas City. This is the Germany game. Kansas City's favored by 2, over under at 51. On the injury report, Miami's going to be without right guard Robert Hunt. Kansas City without CEH. Of course, Nick Bolton also on IR still as well. What you got, Nate?
The offensive line was for Miami kind of scare me off of this a little bit, and it's definitely not a game that I would want to bet. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna wake up and it's gonna be whatever 7:30 in the morning or something like that. Just enjoy a game while you're watching, eating some breakfast. But for the purposes of this and what I'm doing this week, because I'm betting all these things too, is I'm going to pick the Miami Dolphins to get a win. The Miami Dolphins, talked about it for weeks. They're this bully team, kind of like the Lions. Same thing with Dallas, where they can beat inferior teams by a lot of points and give them the business. But then the moment they get punched in the face, they end up having some struggles and they get
Mm-hmm.
dominated, right? That's what happened against Buffalo.
Yep.
That's what's happened against Philadelphia and all that kind of stuff too. So but the one thing here about this game that I like is Kansas City takes away, Spagnola's defense takes away what is the most high percentage way to score in the NFL, and that is the pass. Right? They're very good against the pass, and they allow teams to run on them, and that is by design. Miami is really good at running the football, and I think that Miami can do something with running the football. And I don't know if Kansas City is built to get into a shootout, which sounds weird. They have Patrick Mahomes, they have Travis Kelsey, Rasheed Rice is coming on the scene, Kadarius Toney's busting for me in all of fantasy football and everything that I
Mm-hmm.
love about this team. But I'm going to take Miami, and I think they're going to be able to run the ball if they can get a stop, go up 2 scores, and then create a game in which now Kansas City has to come up to defend the run, and they can get an over-the-top shot with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Durham Smythe, uh, Braxton Berrios if he ends up playing. Like, I think there's this team that Miami has, Kansas City is vulnerable to as opposed to other teams that they've played. So I'm going to go with Miami. Big running game. Weird Raheem Mostert's over unders like 52.5 out there. I've taken that also off the board. So give me Miami to win a game. Overseas, they got out there 2 days earlier than Kansas City. Kelsey says, not a problem. I'm going to say it's going to be a problem. They already got Marquez Valdez Scantling out here complaining because he had to get a dog sitter for a couple of days as an NFL player going all the way to Germany. So I'm going to take Miami.
It's not like they flew out the day before. They're at, 4 or 5 days before the game? That's plenty of time to get rid of the jet lag and kind of acclimate. But that is probably one thing to note here. It is at a neutral site. Miami's played 2 contenders to this point, Buffalo and Philadelphia. They lost both of those games. Tyreek was held under 60 against the Bills and had just 88 against the Eagles. Those are like good numbers for most receivers, but Tyreek, he's in that territory with like A.J. Brown. If they don't get 120, you're like, what the hell happened, right? I think you've mentioned they crush bad teams. The Dolphins do. Despite last week's outing, the Chiefs are not a bad team. I don't think any of us consider them a bad team. They rank top 5 still in offensive and defensive DVOA, so efficiency. The Dolphins on the other side have the top-ranked offense. We know they're humming, but they have just the 22nd ranked defense, and they're getting Jalen Ramsey. That's nice and acclimated. But the offensive line for Miami, I think you spoke to that, is not in a good spot with Teron Armstead on IR, Isaiah Wynn on IR, center Connor Williams. He's also banged up. I'm going to roll with the Chiefs, so we're on opposing ends right out of the gate with both of our picks, the Thursday night one as well. I'd like to think that guys in that locker room want some redemption after what happened in Denver. So picking Kansas City this week.
No Taylor Swift at the game because she's in South America.
I'm not going there. Next game, Minnesota at Atlanta. The Falcons favored by 4. Over-under is very low. It's at 37. On the injury report, Vikings have Cousins and Mullins both on IR. So they go with rookie Jaron Hall this week, and they traded for Dobbs to back him up. Jefferson, obviously on IR still. On defense, Dean Lowry is out this week. Atlanta will be without Drake London in week 9. Just saw that one this morning. What you got for this matchup?
We didn't get to see a lot of Jaron Hall play last week. He was 3 for 4 for like 38 yards or something like that, right? Against Green Bay. So I went and typed into YouTube today. I was at work. Don't tell my boss. If you're my boss, don't listen to this part. I was at work and I YouTube Jaron Hall highlights, right? Because he's a rookie. So he got drafted this year and his highlights are from 2022 BYU quarterback, right? So comes out of BYU, and I just started watching it. The guy threw for like 3,000 something yards, ran for a few hundred yards, good touchdown to interception ratio. There's like a 2-minute span where they're playing a team that I didn't even know existed in like the JUCO level.
It's like but University of Maryland, University College.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad. It was the weirdest name. And I was like, wait, this is a school? It seemed like something out, like they're just like a local school out of Utah that didn't need to travel. But when you watch this dude, he's got good arm strength, but he throws where receivers are and not where they're going. So when you see it, nothing is hidden stride. Everything is behind a receiver. You see these guys, they're burning dudes by 4 or 5 yards, and they're slowing down to turn back for the ball. They're not catching it going. Anything across the middle, the receiver's turning their body back, and everything goes behind him, right? Should that be fixed? I don't know. We didn't get a good look. I watched a couple of his passes, and that he threw against Green Bay, same thing that I'm seeing. This dude is going to throw a pick. There's a prop market out there for him to throw a pick. A lot of books took it down, but it's over 1.5. It's at -150. I think you can get it at Bet365 and MGM. There is another prop for this game where it's over under 1.5 total interceptions in the game because Atlanta's starting Taylor Heineke as well. I think this dude Jaron Hall throws 2 interceptions himself because the Minnesota Vikings are not going to, they're going to say, hey, not the Minnesota Vikings, the Atlanta Falcons are going to sit there and say, hey, one, you can't run the ball, and we're going to stack the box and we're going to bring pressure against this because you're not going to want this guy to throw the ball against us. They have AJ Terrell, Trey Flowers. I forget the fucking goddamn it. It sounds like a Duke. I forget his name, but another good corner. Like their corners are great. We talked about it in the preseason on other shows here on the channel or whatever like that. But they're gonna play a lot of man to man, and this dude's gonna be throwing guys trailing. And Jordan Addison's fast, KJ Osborne's fast, and they're gonna have trailing defenders who are gonna pick this ball off. The Atlanta Falcons only have 4 interceptions on the season, and 3 of them come from Jesse Bates, I believe, and the other one's from the other safety. But I think this is the day that a corner gets an interception. Atlanta beats the dog shit out of this team. You got Taylor Heineke being able to play. Drake London is out for this game with a groin issue, but I don't think that matters too much when you got Bijan, Algier. God, I hate this dude, but Cordell Patterson, Kyle Pitts, like they still have dudes, and Minnesota, it's I like the -4 in this game. It's at home in Atlanta. They're top of the division, 4-4. They're making a little run. Everybody likes Taylor Heineke because people got to see some insides of him when he was on Pat McAfee's show and he was zinning. So everybody likes zinning. So give me Atlanta to win this ball game. I like the props for Jaron Hall to throw interceptions in this game. I like the over 1.5, and that's like plus right at 100. And I like him to do that. I like his prop at 150 as well. Atlanta by a landslide.
Yeah, AJ Terrell, Jeff Okudah, Trey Flowers, D. Alford, those guys in the secondary there. Yep.
Jeff Okudah.
Yep. Also, when you're watching that BYU film, were you catching any of Puka Nacua catching passes over there?
No, okay. I was watching good football.
Oh, get out of here! Get out of here! Yeah. For Cousins, that's terrible news. I think we were we were fans. He's kind of grown on me. I know he's grown on you a long time ago. They're already down Justin Jefferson.
I'm going through like Kirk Cousins historicals and wide receivers he's had, and then what they've done after Kirk Cousins has been their quarterback because Kirk Cousins gets such a bad rap. But God, like we're gonna see it with this Minnesota team how good Kirk Cousins is, and I'm kind of glad that other people get to see it as well.
Yeah, it's a good pocket quarterback for sure. But yeah, they're already down Justin Jefferson, still winning football games. So yeah. I absolutely loathe Arthur Smith, but Atlanta is starting Heineke. They declared that earlier in the week. They are at home, as Nate mentioned, and they're either playing a rookie or Dobbs. I believe Hall was getting a start there. Yeah. Who's going to have I think Dobbs 2 or 3 days to study. So if Hall does get pulled, I'm not too concerned about that for Atlanta's defense in that secondary. Also taking Atlanta for a lot of the same reasons. This was an easy one for me as well. Next matchup, Arizona at Cleveland. The Browns favored by 8. Another low over under. This one's at 37.5. On the injury report for the Cardinals, just saw this morning. No Amari DeMarcado. That's a tough one to say. I don't know why. No left guard Castillo. Kyler Murray is questionable, but they did just deal Dobbs. Just mentioned him. So we may be very close to Kyler if he doesn't go this week. The Browns won't have Greg Newsome, but Deshaun Watson is going to give it another shot Sunday. He's supposed to start. He was limited on Wednesday and Thursday, but a full go in practice today. Where are you at with this game, Nate?
Yeah, Arizona's
I have a sentence.
Arizona's going to start Clayton Tune this week. Little rough for the tight end position in Arizona because that's been Trey McBride, Zach Ertz before he got hurt. Josh Dobbs is like a godsend for the tight end position, and he's going to make T.J. Hawkinson be the number 1 tight end in fantasy football and props markets and all that kind of stuff going forward as well once he starts there next week. But Clayton Tune's going to start here. Deshaun Watson coming back. I did talk about there's a big favorite on this board who I, as most likely to lose. It's not this game. Cleveland's going to beat Cleveland's going to beat the dog shit out of this team. They're at home. They're finally getting a competent quarterback, regardless of how good he is. They're going to be able to run the ball. That defense had, some stumbles against, say, San Francisco. They let up a lot of points when they went to Seattle. They let up 14 in the first quarter, and then they were back to the Cleveland Browns defense once again. If it weren't for turnovers before the half and right before the end of the game, Cleveland probably walks out of Seattle with a win. Cleveland, I'm taking to win the ball game.
Yeah, Schwartz is going to, coordinate his way into another head coaching gig. I believe that in the next couple of years. But not much to say here. It's the Browns with PJ Walker, with Deshaun Watson, with that stud DTR, great college pedigree. They win with Nate under center. Doesn't matter. Give me the Browns as well.
Nice.
I'd like them more if Nate was under center, to be honest.
Mm.
Next matchup, Rams at the Packers. Green Bay, field goal favorites at home, over under. Another low one, 38.5 on the injury report. The big piece of news here is Stafford not practicing all week. Didn't go again today. McVay said he's going to be a game time call with a thumb. If Stafford doesn't go, Ripien would start in his place. Don't like that. Right tackle Rob Havenstein is also listed as questionable. If those two are out, Stafford and Havenstein, you'd have a hard time selling me on LA covering the 3. Green Bay, mostly healthy. Just worth noting here that both their tackles are on IR. The inside of that line is intact, though, and healthy. So take that for what you will. Nate, what are we doing with this one?
I think that the Green Bay Packers stink. I'm a big fan of Brett Rippon. I loved him when he was with Denver. Every time he got a chance to get on the field, I was like, we're betting his props over. I think he's got the brain. He doesn't have all the physical attributes. Kind of sucks that Stetson Bennett's going through whatever he's going through, because I would have really liked to see him in this offense, right? And we don't know what that is. Personal stuff. They decided to keep it in-house. Don't know what it is. Hope the dude's good. But this would have been a good spot to see him play. And if he was playing, I would pick the Los Angeles Rams, but I can't do it. Green Bay is terrible. It's a game that probably nobody wants to watch unless you have like Romeo Dobbs or Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp in fantasy. I'll take Green Bay to win the game at home. Brett Rippon on the road with a team. Yuck. Give me Green Bay.
Yeah, the Lambeau Field thing, no Stafford there. That's an easy Green Bay. Again, I don't like him either, but taking the Packers for those reasons. It's going to be sloppy.
I don't think Stafford plays with the UCL strain in his throwing hand. Like, I don't know why you play him if you think you have a shot at the playoffs, for him to go out there and not be able to throw forward, pass, and grip the ball the way that he needs to grip it in order to beat Jair Alexander in coverage.
Yeah, I was actually just passed a note here from the producers. It says that the thumb on the throwing hand and the grip is important for quarterbacks in the NFL. So, yeah, there
good
you
job,
go.
Producers. Thank you.
Next matchup, Washington at the Patriots. New England's favored by 3. Over under a little higher to 41, also low on the injury report. 12 dudes on the report for New England. Not going to read all of them. Tackle Trent Brown, probably the most notable DNP all week. Commodes have mostly a clean bill of health, but wide receiver Curtis Samuel is out this week. Probably good if you're a Dotson or McLaurin fantasy manager. But what you got for this one, Nate?
Yeah, lots been made of what Washington did at the trade deadline with getting rid of Chase Young and Vontez Sweat. Things are being made about who made a better deal. People think that the Niners got a steal and the Bears overpaid, but Chase Young stinks. He's stunk his whole career. He plays like 60% of games. He only has 14 sacks in his 4 years in the NFL, and he's not available. And people say, but he's not available. You make the point, right? Sweat's a way better player. He creates more pressure and everything like that. But it's not like Washington's front was any good as a whole anyways. I don't think they're all that great. What's the quarterback's name? I have him in fantasy. Sam Howell. I'm on this Taylor Heineke thing because I like Taylor Heineke. But Sam Howell. All right, Sam Howell's going to throw the ball probably 40 times this game. Like, all they do is throw it. Bieniemy's comfortable letting him throw it. All he does is stare down a wide receiver, and nobody seems to be able to stop it. Christian Gonzalez is obviously out. The New England secondary is banged up as a whole. I don't think that New England is a competent team. I think we're seeing the end of Bill Belichick, and this might be the week where it gets really hot, where the national media has already been talking about it a lot, but when they lose to the Washington Commanders, who just traded away what people think are like the greatest defensive ends in in football for some reason, right? When no one talks about him all year. Um, I think that stove, full boil. Give me Sam Howell to figure out how to win a ball game on the road. They throw it a ton and a ton and a ton and a ton and a ton, and I think that's where they can beat the New England Patriots in this game. Sam Howell has a attempts prop for 34.5. I took the over on that as well.
Yeah, Nate dropped 4 tons there, so take that over.
Yeah.
Chase Young, he's gone. Sweat's gone. The defensive front may not be the best pieces in the league, but they lost 2 of its 4 most important pieces. You can't tell me that doesn't impact a team, especially the first week out of that. They weren't especially good on that side of the ball, either way, ranking just 26th in defensive DVOA. Washington has also dropped 5 of their last 6 games. So there's that. Both offenses here stink, though. The Patriots get the edge for me, playing at home at Gillette. And I think New England's played good enough on defense to the tune of the 12th ranked unit in terms of efficiency there. Washington ranks 22nd also in rushing yards allowed. So if New England wants to win this thing, they need to run the shit out of the ball. I'm taking New England on the hopes that they just hand the ball to Stevenson, 20 times. Zeke gets, 10 carries as well. But keep the ball out of Mac Jones' hand as much as possible and win it on the ground. I'm taking New England, and it just feels gross. I would have felt gross taking either team here.
You know who we're relying on to make sure that they run the ball a lot, right?
Who's that?
The world's greatest GM from Houston, Texas, Bill O'Brien.
What would Bill O'Brien do?
No, we need him back there, right? We need him back there.
All right, Chicago at New Orleans. The Saints favored by 8.5. Over-unders at 41. On the injury front for Chicago, no safety Jaquan Brisker, no guard Nate Davis, no linebacker Tremaine Edmonds. Justin Fields also listed as doubtful. I don't believe he's playing. New Orleans, mostly healthy. What you got, Nate?
This is the game that I think is the most likely to get upset as a big favorite.
Really?
Yeah, and I like this one because New Orleans, they've struggled to run the ball, but they kind of got it together a little bit against the Colts. But let's not act like the Colts defense is anything to be scared of, especially when they had to sack back to help the corners out, and they got dusted everywhere. Lost a prop on Chris Olave, longest reception over 22 yards or something like that, and yardage prop because he decides to try to catch the ball with his face mask and not use his hands for like a 40-yard touchdown. That was ridiculous.
I would have been a dope-ass catch, though.
Yeah. But the thing with this New Orleans defense, right, and they got Cam Jordan sitting there, but they don't get pressure on the quarterback, so Tyson Badgin's going to be sitting back there by himself. The dude's got a strong arm. He seems fairly smart. We saw some bad throws out of him last week or whatever like that, but he's done okay. They're able to run the ball in Chicago. Their offensive line's getting, some symmetry, and they're able to run the ball fairly well. I think they could stay more balanced against New Orleans. And New Orleans is notorious for going down, driving the ball, first drive, like 75 yards, boom, 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 6 plays, touchdown, and then 3 and out for 3 straight drives. And then they go down and score again, and they look unstoppable. And then it's 3 and out for 3 drives. I think that Chicago can stay around, even with all of the injuries there. But I'm still going to take New Orleans to win this game. I think that New Orleans is, by far, their offense is a lot better. Getting Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, everybody's kind of just gelling now, and they've gotten some time together. Derek Carr's thrown for over 300 yards for a few straight weeks. I think they win a game at home, but if there's a team that's going to get beat that's not supposed to get beat, it's this New Orleans team, and that is why I say that they're the most likely to get upset. So
I don't know about that one. I feel if Chicago wins this game on the recap show, I will eat 3 Chicago-style hot dogs during the taping.
Bang, I like it.
I don't even know what – I was trying to look up to see what exactly Chicago-style hot dog is. I was hoping it was like a chili dog, but that is incorrect.
No, it's got like relish, full pickles, full tomato slices, everything. It's actually pretty tasty, man.
We'll find out.
We'll
find out on the recap.
Tasty. Yep.
Tuesday. Tune in.
Nice.
The Saints, one of the league's most penalized teams this season. I've bitched about this previous recordings with us. Against an opponent in their same weight class, that's a problem. The Chicago Bears are not that, even if Justin Fields suits up. He's doubtful, and with Badgett under center and on the road, you just can't justify going Chicago here. Kamara, Olave, Mike Thomas, Rashid Shaheed. They got Jawan Johnson back last week. Taysom Hill and his massive package.
Mm-hmm.
There's just too much for the Bears to defend, and good luck dealing with the Saints defense that is still top 10. They're 8th in DVOA. Give me the
Yeah.
Saints as well.
You talked about Tremaine Edmonds being out. I have a prop for TJ Edwards over 9.5 tackles and assists. So the floodgates are basically going to be open for this dude to
Yes,
be able to
sir.
tackle everybody in the middle of the field, right? And outside of them blowing out, the Raiders or whatever like that, he's cleared 9 tackles and assists, 6 out of 7 games. So, um, yeah, TJ
There you go,
Edwards.
sir.
It's a little juice to the over, but I think it's still good.
Circle that one. Next game, Seattle at Baltimore. Ravens are favored by 6, over unders at 44. On the injury front for Seattle, guards Phil Haynes and Anthony Bradford are questionable. Quite a few other players playing through injuries, but only those guys worth noting as guys who could miss week 9. Baltimore remains mostly healthy from what we're used to. Just tackle Morgan Moses doubtful, safety Marcus Williams, Daryl Worley, and Rocky Sin corners questionable. What you got for this one?
Baltimore. I think that Baltimore they're just a top 4 team in the NFL. They should be 8-0. There's no reason for them to have those 2 losses, right? One against Indianapolis and the other one, I forget who they lost to, but really bad. Pittsburgh. Yeah, just bad team. They're humming. And Seattle's got to go all the way across the country to play this team. It's a morning game as well. So 1 o'clock, that's a 10 o'clock start back in the old West Coast, right? So I'll take Baltimore. I don't think that it's in question that they win. I think Seattle can cover though, but Baltimore I will take to win the game.
Yeah, Ravens have quietly put together another great season. They're 6-2. They've won 3 straight. The defense is top of the league in efficiency. Did not see that one coming. The offense is 4th in efficiency. And we talked about their health earlier in the year. They're getting much healthier compared to where they're at and where they've been in past seasons. I like where they're at, and the same can't be said for Seattle. Metcalf and Lockett and Walker, all those guys are banged up, playing through some stuff. I think Metcalf missed a game a couple weeks ago. They lost Uchenna Nwosu on the other side of the ball, and the defense ranks just 15th in DVOA. So at home, playing good football, I've got Lamar and the Ravens to get a narrow win as well here. Nice. Moving on now, Tampa Bay at Houston. Texans are favored by 2.5 over under. We have so many under or close to 40. This one's at 40 on the injury front. Vita Vea is questionable for this one for Tampa, and Houston will be without Robert Woods again. No Dameon Pierce. That was news today. And then defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins is questionable. He's been going through a knee injury, battling through that. What you got for this one?
Yeah, I initially had Houston in this one. I think that there can be an overreaction to what they did against Carolina and losing that game on the road against the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah.
But I think there is something to be said of coming off the bye, and get it, Carolina was coming off the bye too, but your roster is superior. Your coaching is not superior, and that's what they got beat with. Mm-hmm. But I think that the Tampa Bay roster is better than what Houston has. I'm a believer in Baker Mayfield. I think the dude's a baller. They almost beat the damn Buffalo Bills on Thursday night. They're coming off a long rest. They got to go on the road to Houston, but it's not like it's that crazy far. Halfway across the states, few hours they can cross the Gulf or whatever like that. But I'm going to take Tampa Bay. Houston, despite running zone coverage, lets up like a lot of deep pass plays. I think they have 10 over 20 yards on the season or something like that. And I don't think that's in the full season. I think that's just in the last few weeks that they've, over the last few games that they've led over 10. So there's a Mike Evans prop for like over 22.5 yards as long as reception. I like a little bit of that there too. But I'll take Tampa Bay to win a game. Tampa Bay is definitely in contention for this division with Atlanta and all that kind of stuff. They're in Atlanta's division, right? Yeah. So I think that they got to get a win. Houston, meh. I don't know. Maybe someone figured out something with CJ Stroud because Carolina kind of shut him down. So I'll take Tampa Bay to win a ball game.
Yeah, this was a late change for me as well. I thought if healthy, this would be a good bounce back spot for Houston. They're not healthy, and Tampa is already a more talented team on paper. Laramie Tunsil for Houston's been a DNP all week. A couple other linemen are on IR. Damian Pierce not playing. Stingley's on IR still. There's been some attrition for these guys, and they've dropped 2 out of 3. Tampa has dropped 3 straight, but they've been very competitive. Almost got the win against Buffalo. Again, despite the Q tag, Vita Vea has been a full participant in practice. Tristan Wirfs has been a full participant, so you like that. You like the Bucs' chances if those guys are at full strength. I'm also taking Tampa Bay in this one.
Yes.
Moving on to the Sunday afternoon games, Indy at Carolina. The Colts are favored on the road by 2.5. Over-unders at 44. What you got for this one? Didn't have much on the injury front.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take Indianapolis. I don't think that they can defend the forward pass from the outsides. Their corners are dog shit. They only have like 3 real healthy ones, and they're only playing 2 because Daryl Baker stinks. Talked about him last week
Yeah.
with
Yep.
New Orleans. Um, so I'm going to take Indianapolis to win. Just overall better roster. They're going to be able to run the ball. They're going to be able to pass the ball in Carolina. Um, Big day for Jonathan Taylor, Zach Moss. But one thing just to note here is it did look like in the Houston game that Bryce Young seemed a little bit more comfortable as like in the NFL game where the game seemed to be slowing down for him a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, able to see the field a lot better and
Yeah.
process information that he's being given. Um, Prior to their bye week, and I believe it was a week of injury, Jonathan Mingo was a go-to target on the outside for this dude. Adam Thielen's getting all the hype and all that kind of stuff, but Jonathan Mingo is still getting 6 targets a game. And he wasn't catching them at the beginning because the passes were not good
Yeah.
targets.
Uh,
Um, we saw better targets out of Bryce Young this last game. He's definitely a guy that they want to get involved in. Jonathan Mingo, they're kind of pushing Terrace Marshall to the side. That's why he asked for a trade, didn't get traded. But Jonathan Mingo prop for receiving yards is sitting at 38.5. I like that prop with the lackluster corners that Indianapolis has. There's not a single prop out there for receptions. If it's 3.5, I like the over. If it's 4.5,
mm-hmm.
I would still bet it just a little bit lower because I do think they're going to be trailing, and I think he can catch some balls here. So, but Jonathan Mingo over 38.5, Indianapolis to win the ball game.
Yeah, I like that short term and actually long term for the season. Thielen's on pace for like 130 catches or something crazy like that. He's 33 years old. That's not going to happen. This is typically the point in the season where these guys start to slow down. Thielen isn't someone who's played, every game, every year of his career. So Mingo, if he's available, you need wide receiver help. Might be someone you look at. For this game, though, you might want to take Carolina after they get a win. They're playing with some momentum, but they still have no rush defense, as Nate mentioned. Houston had a banged up offensive line, couldn't really take advantage of that last week. Indy is going to want to run the ball. They're 9th in rushing yards, getting about a buck 29 on the ground. Indy wins this on the back of Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss. Taylor had 12 carries last week for 95 yards. That's 8 yards per rush if you do some public math there. Moss can get it done too. Last week with his carries, he was at about 6 yards per carry. So I think both those guys have good weeks this week. I'm taking Indy as well. Next game, the Giants at Las Vegas. It's ugly. Raiders favored by 1.5, over under another one under 40. This one's at 37. Injury report for the Giants: no Tyrod Taylor, no Darren Waller, Evan Neal, and Andrew Thomas are questionable. But Daniel Jones will be starting this week, and he's back. For Las Vegas, no Divine Diablo and no Luke Masterson, so hurting at linebacker there. What you got for this game, Nate?
I am going to take the Las Vegas Raiders
Oof.
solely just from a momentum standpoint. I don't think the Giants are good. We've talked about that over and over and over. But them firing their head coach, their GM, there seems to be a real big sigh of relief in the players, regardless of what the play calls are and how good they feel about anything right now and how it's been. They still want to play for this staff, right? They enjoy being around the people. The energy seems a lot different from practice tapes, from interviews, anything like that. I think they're going to run the ball, and they're going to run the ball heavy when they talk about being physical and playing the Raider way, that is allegedly right from whatever the perception of what the Raiders should be is hard hitting defense, running the ball, smash you, beat you physically, kind of like Pittsburgh Steeler football, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what they kind of stand for. I think that we get a big Josh Jacobs game. The New York Giants absolutely stink. They can get gashed all over the ground. And without Darren Waller, who are they going to throw the ball to? They don't have, they throw all these bubble screens to Wan'Dale Robinson, but they don't really have anybody to throw the ball to. You got Saquon Barkley. That's cool and everything like that. But you get Josh McDaniels fired. That stadium might actually have nothing but Raider fans in it this week. Like, you're going to get all the California crowd driving out for this
Yeah.
weekend. You're going to have the Las Vegas crowd there. It might actually be a pro Raider crowd for once. You got their head coach, Pierce. He's coming
Mm-hmm.
out talking about the Raider way and how he grew up in Compton, down the road,
Mm-hmm.
NWA, all this kind of stuff, right? Um, I think that plays a big role into them winning. And if you want to know more about Pierce, Antonio Pierce as their head coach, there's on Netflix, or not Netflix, I believe it is on Amazon Prime, but there's like a series where when he was coaching Long Beach Poly Jackrabbits in high school football, he coached there for 4 years before leaving and getting a shot to coach with the Raiders. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of cool insight to see him as a coach, mentoring young youth and all that kind of stuff. But I'll take the Raiders to win this. I think that they cover the 1.5 as well. I think that there's just some scary stuff there where people don't know what's going on because you got Aiden O'Connell playing quarterback, new changes, all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we're talking about Daniel Jones coming back from injury, um, and there's nothing
Yeah.
to like about the New York Giants for me.
I like the interim head coach bump as well, and the Raiders are no stranger to that. They had was it Rich or Ralph Bisaccia a couple years ago lead him to like a wild card playoff game.
Yeah,
Like the dude didn't end up getting a job, but I mean the team definitely rallied around it, and we've seen that before, not only in the NFL but other sports as well. It seems like the locker room was in favor of that firing, so I'm with you there.
I believe they
Uh,
ripped off like 8 straight wins that season or something crazy when he got there. Like, he just didn't lose.
yeah, absolutely. He should have got hired. I don't know why they didn't. But, anyways, Giants just traded away Leonard Williams. Him and Dexter Lawrence were a pretty good defensive front, so that's going to hurt. Mentioned Darren Waller missing this game. New York does get Daniel Jones back, but the offense wasn't exactly in a good spot when he went down. No Waller, so that doesn't help. So I'm not giving the Giants too much of a bump there. The Raiders on their side, they had some drama. If you've been under a rock, Josh McDaniels is gone. The GM's gone. The offensive coordinator is gone. Jimmy G got benched. Not ideal, but I, again, do believe they get the bump with the interim head coach. Max Crosby's a game wrecker. Adams is getting 72 targets in this game, going to make up for some lost time there. And I think the Raiders are getting a W. Next game, Dallas. This is the last afternoon game here at Philadelphia. The Eagles are home favorites. They get a field goal over unders at 47. On the injury front for the Cowboys, Tyron Smith, left tackle, he's questionable with a neck injury. And the Eagles, they're going to be without Cam Jurgens. I want to say Jurgens, Bradley Roby, and tight end Grant Calcaterra. What you got for this one, Nate?
This was a tough one for me from a winning standpoint. Philly's favored by 3. I think that Dallas is closer to 3. I think this is more of a pick game just from a roster
Yeah.
talent, everything that the teams have, their current form, all that kind of stuff. Dallas is notorious for just giving hope, right? They blow out a team or they play a really good game of football and then they get smoked right after. Um, but I don't think that Jalen Hurts is healthy. A lot's being made of. I say that a lot. You guys should drink every time I say a lot's being made of. A lot's being made about AJ Brown and all his receiving yards and stuff like that. But that's pretty much it. The running game's been kind of lackluster. Jalen Hurts isn't able to run the ball as much anymore. He's got a big old bruise on his knee or whatever. Wearing a
Yeah.
brace. Swollen knees are not good for pass rushes. Dallas has a decent pass rush, but it's really just Micah Parsons. Dallas can score quickly. I don't think that the Philadelphia secondary is all that strong right now. CeeDee Lamb will be able to run wild on this team. Dallas needs to get out to a quick lead, quick 2-score lead, then be able to stop Philly, and then I think they have the game in their hands. because they'll be able to pin their ears back and not have as mobile of a Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts last week, you noticed when they do their toast push stuff, there's never a time when they need to run a fake out of that thing, and they ran an end around sweep with it, right? And it's because Jalen Hurts is banged up. There's no reason to run that and show that you have anything else out of that package until you get to the playoffs and you're playing what? It was the Washington Commanders, I believe it was, right? Is that who they were playing last week? Like
Yeah.
I don't know why you run that in that situation in the middle of the season if Jalen Hurts is able to get the 1 yard, right? Granted, they got a touchdown, cool, whatever like that, but that's not what they do, and I don't think they intended to do it, and I think it's on purpose. God, I hate that I'm saying I like Dak in this situation, but give me the healthy quarterback for
Oh,
fairly identical teams, and give me Dallas to get a win on the road at Philly. Philly's got to drop a game at some point, and
they're going to.
they're going to, right? And they didn't do it against Washington. At some point, they're going to drop a game. I think that this is a spot for it. Dallas is just overall talent wise, they're on the same page as them. They have a better secondary, I think, as well too. So, give me Dallas to win on the road at Philly. It sounds insane. It is insane. That's what I'm picking. Going with my gut.
I feel like we already have like 5 or 6 we're on opposing ends of. This is
Yeah.
dangerous. This is dangerous. I'm either going to catch up or you're just going to walk away with it this week. Lots of home team favorites this week. I'm betting most of them, and that's probably a bad idea. But Philly enters this game with the more impressive resume in 2023. They've taken down the Dolphins, and their only blemish is against the Jets. I'm not sure Dallas has done enough for us to take them on the road as the dog against a team most of us have getting back to the NFC Championship. I am excited for the CD Lamb and AJ Brown props in this one. Might be taking them both in DFS, that little stack. I'm taking the Eagles. This is their shot to take a 2-game lead in the division and, the tiebreaker there as well. And I think they need to get a bit of a lead because if you look at the schedule coming up, Dallas has a soft schedule. And Philly, after this game, they get Kansas City, they get Buffalo, and they get San Francisco in back-to-back-to-back weeks. So I feel like they need that cushion. I feel like they need this win more than Dallas does. And I do understand that Jalen Hurts is injured, but I feel like they can get it done. I feel like this is an equal matchup. They're in Philly, so I'm giving the edge to the Eagles, going with the green here this week.
Nice.
Next matchup, this is the Sunday night game. So Buffalo at Cincinnati. The Bengals are 2-point home favorites. Over-unders high. We like this one. It's at 49.5. Injury report for Buffalo. No A.J. Klein, no Balin Spector at linebacker. The Bengals have a relatively clean bill of health. What you got, Nate?
Uh, we talk about how Miami, Dallas, Detroit are bully teams, and they beat up on weaker opponents. And then they get popped in the mouth and they fold. Cincinnati is the complete opposite of what that team is. They rise to every occasion. Joe Burrow rises to every occasion. They've gone to Arrowhead, I think it's 4 times in the last couple years. Only lost 1 game. Granted, it was a meaningful game,
It's very meaningful.
but Joe Burrow does not lose games like this. They are built for this. This is who the team is. Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills, they win games and they're smashing tables. By the way, you come in here, get smacked in the face, and Jamar Chase apparently is ready to do an Ocho Cinco style celebration with the camera on the side as long as Ocho Cinco pays his fine. So give me Cincinnati to win this. This is my favorite game of the week. I think Cincinnati should be 4-point favorites, and there are only 2, and there are spots out there where you can get it even cheaper. Give me Cincinnati to win the game. Sunday Night Football, embarrass Buffalo, and with Miami winning, catapult Miami into winning the division. Everything I've predicted all year long.
All coming together. So Jamar Chase's score. Do we know what his anytime score line is?
I don't know. It's probably close to even money.
Yeah, that's fair. Bills continue to shoot themselves in the foot, ranking 27th in turnovers. On defense, they're 25th against the run. They're middle of the pack against the pass now, and basically 14th overall in defensive efficiency or DVOA. Perhaps some injuries have contributed to the the team. They're not coming back. The Bengals are on an opposite trajectory. They're getting healthy. T. Higgins is getting healthy, and the offense is stringing together a few good games now. They have 3 straight wins and 4 out of their last 5 after the bad start we knew about Burrow's calf, though, there. So I think if Cincinnati can find some success on the ground and Burrow can pick his spots through the air, I think the Bengals can take this, which this is a playoff matchup. It's a test for both teams either way, but I am looking forward to the game. I'm taking the Bengals. I think they cover easily. Final matchup for us, the Monday night game. This is the Chargers at the Jets. Chargers are favored by 3.5 on the road, over under another low one. This is at 40. On the injury front for the Chargers, Josh Palmer so far is the only DNP. Still dealing with the knee. The Jets had a few limited participants on Friday, but nothing notable outside of the guys already on IR. Let's hear it, Nate. What you got? This is like number 7 for us.
Yeah. I don't think that the Chargers are any good. They can't stop anybody over the middle of the field as well. So if you look at guys like Tyler Conklin, right? Tyler Conklin's a tight end that you'd want to have in your DFS stuff because he's probably fairly cheap. I'm betting his over 27.5 receiving yards as well, too. You can bet his over receptions at 2.5 as well. The Los Angeles Chargers cannot guard the tight end position. They get murdered by it every week. If you don't believe me, just go back through all their box scores and look at who they just bleed yards and receptions to. Justin Herbert's hand is not right, and he's started to not throw deep balls like he has been all year. They did a lot of that dump off crap to Austin Eckler last week. They do a lot of shorter passing route stuff. And if you're not going to extend and extend the defense for the New York Jets and they're able to sit up on stuff, they're going to smash you and they're going to put it right in your face. Justin Herbert is quick at getting the ball out, a lot quicker, but with the hand and pressure that the New York Jets are able to put on him, they're a successful team right now with Zach Wilson. They're probably exactly where we thought they would be with Aaron Rodgers. They've won 3 in a row. Zach Wilson is getting some confidence with some late drives, putting them in position to win ball games, like these storybook things and all that kind of stuff. Monday Night Football, New York, New Jersey, dark, dim, but bright lights on the field. It's going to be fucking rocking at MetLife. And if there's somebody who's going to fold in a rocking stadium on the road, it is Brandon Staley and this Los Angeles Chargers team. Give me the New York Jets to win at home as 3.5-point underdogs. Primetime football. Zach Wilson leads a drive to get them in position. Field goal to win it. Boom, boom, bang, bang. Zach Wilson, MVP. Give me the Jets. I'll take the Jets.
Bold take.
You can also take Zach Wilson over 213.5 yards passing as well. I like that.
All right. I was not impressed with the Jets' offensive performance against the Giants. They got the win, but barely in overtime. We were all puckered up a little bit for that one. They were already without Dwayne Brown, their left tackle. He's looking to return this week, but a couple of weeks ago they put Elijah Verituka on IR. Center Connor McGovern was put on IR Monday. Guard Wes Schweitzer was put on IR as of Monday as well. Replacement center Joe Tidman, he's questionable for this game. It's ugly, and I can't in good faith take the Jets against a Chargers team that has a couple of pass rushers and the offense that can actually put up some points. I know they have a good defense on the other side. I'm fairly certain if the Giants could complete a forward pass last week that they beat the Jets. So that's kind of what I'm going off of. I'm taking the Chargers. They think they had single-digit passing yards last week, the Giants did. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. All right, with those picks, that means I'm wagering 26.4 units. Well, Nate is at about 23 units for the week. Again, we're betting whatever it takes to get to 1 unit for each win. Moving on to our best bets, our records on the year. I'm sitting at 4-4, so 500. Nate's at 5-3, doing pretty well. What you got for week 9 on the best bet front, Nate?
Yep, I'm going to go with Cincinnati on points bet. You can get them at -1.5, so under that too. I like them up to 4. I would bet the 3. I don't think it'll hit the 3 because it's going to go back and get bet down. But
Mhm.
so I think there's tremendous value at whatever this number is whenever you get it. I think they're easily a 4-point favorite. I think they win by over a touchdown. Cincinnati -1.5, -110 on PointsBet, or you can get it at 2 anywhere else you like. So, but don't
There
be
you go.
paying that -115 bullshit that they have on DraftKings. Like that's terrible.
Yeah, I don't like when I see that.
Hmm.
I feel bad punching that into the spread or the PowerPoint, the
Yeah.
thumbnail. The teasers were pretty appealing this week for me. I like New Orleans and Cleveland with the 6-point teaser. That gets New Orleans down to -2.5 and Cleveland down to 2. So both matchups under the 3. And both those teams are at home. So you get the bonus there. Saints get the Bears and Cleveland gets the Cardinals. I feel like there shouldn't be much pressure on these offenses. And the defenses, I think they're more than capable of getting it done basically on their own. You can also find that at -120 on DK. Cool. Closing thoughts before we bounce?
Yeah, real quick, let's talk about this MVP market, right? So
Oh,
NFL
all right.
MVP. So I have a Tua ticket from preseason. That's pretty nice right now, right? He's the short shot
Oh, yeah.
at plus 400. But they also play the Kansas City Chiefs, right? And MVP is always going to go to a quarterback. Like the people who vote on this stuff has said MVP is a quarterback award. The quarterback is the most valuable position
Yeah.
per analytics on the football field. So there's no point in ever betting anything else because they're always going to bet or pick MVP. It is a little bit different because now they can bet. Are they not? Why do I keep saying bet? Now they vote for five members as opposed to one,
Hmm.
right? So they'll throw in Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill at like 4 or 5 or something to say, oh, I put them on the sheet, or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
it's kind of just for checking the box. But a couple guys, right? I think that the MVP comes out of the AFC, whoever's the number 1 seed in the AFC, right? So you got all these teams sitting at top of their divisions with Miami, Baltimore, um, Kansas City, and then Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. Jacksonville's
Yep.
going to get smoked by a couple of these teams. They got to play the AFC North coming up, and then they got teams. They still got to play San Francisco and stuff like that too. So I don't think Trevor
Yeah.
Lawrence is in the making for that. But you have Mahomes, who's probably if you believe that Kansas City beats Miami, then this is the week that Tua gets wiped out of the MVP conversation. But Mahomes is sitting here with a schedule of Miami, Philly, Buffalo, at New England, home against
Ooh.
Cincinnati, and the Chargers to finish out his schedule. So pretty tough games there, right?
Yeah.
But if you think that you can run through it, then Mahomes is he's obviously the best player in the NFL, the most necessary player in the NFL for any team going forward.
Hmm.
So I think that that's a fairly decent bet. I don't like the odds, but it's not going. If you believe that Kansas City wins this week, then it's not going to get any better than 450. The other one is Lamar Jackson with Baltimore. He's sitting at 600. I don't like the number because he has to run through, some pretty tough games here going forward
Hmm.
as well. They got Cleveland, Cincinnati, at Jacksonville, at San Francisco, Miami at home, and then Pittsburgh at home. So bound to lose a couple of those games or whatever like that going forward. I don't like the number on Lamar Jackson. He just doesn't put up enough numbers as well too. So if it's like a tiebreaker in whatever the team is and all that kind of stuff, I don't like that. But I don't think that they beat Cincinnati again. They beat Cincinnati with a hobbled Joe Burrow before.
Hmm.
But the one I like the most is Joe Burrow. He's sitting at plus 2,000. So this is 20 to
Ooh.
1 odds that you can get Joe Burrow, right? Granted, they've lost, I think it's 4 games already, right? I think they're at even. Those 4 games, 3 games. Um,
Hmm.
but for them to win, they would have to finish atop the AFC, right? But if they get past Buffalo, I think they beat Baltimore. They play Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, and then week 17 you get at Kansas City, and that's basically for the MVP right there. I don't think that any of these games are teams that I think that Cincinnati should lose to. And you have
Hmm.
hobbled Joe, kind of like the narrative arc too, right? Hobbled Joe Burrow. He sat there and he played through all the crap. They lost some games. He got healthy, and then boom, they just dominate the rest of the league, go on this massive run, win the division, if Kansas City can lose a game to, say, Buffalo or Philly, maybe a new, Cincinnati, then there's a couple losses there. I like betting the Joe Burrow plus 2,000. Another one, though, and this is the only player in the NFC I think that can win the MVP, and that's Jalen Hurts, right? They're one-loss team right now. I think that they lose to Dallas, but if you don't believe that they lose to Dallas, and that they can go to Kansas City and win, right? Which I think a lot of people believe that they would be able to do. They're better than Buffalo. They're probably beat the Niners, but who knows, because the Niners are going to be healthy here after the bye at Dallas and Seattle. If they get through Dallas, Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, and Dallas again unscathed, and they win those 5 games, Jalen Hurts is by far the MVP. So I already have a long shot on Tua, but sprinkle some Jalen Hurts, Mahomes at the numbers they're at, because if they go on these runs, then the number's never going to be better, and it's kind of a shoe in. But long shot, Joe Burrow at 20-1 MVP odds. So that's something I just wanted to bring up if you're into futures markets and stuff like that. So, but I like the Joe Burrow one, because if they win and they just win, and they beat all these teams. He beats Lamar Jackson, he beats Trevor Lawrence, he beats Mahomes, he beats Burrow. Jalen Hurts has to make it all the way through that schedule in order to not beat Joe Burrow for MVP.
That's tough. I like the Burrow odds. Hurts, that just seems like a stretch, especially he's dealing with the knee injury. Seems like a 2-horse race, though. Lawrence isn't going to throw many touchdowns. He hasn't yet. So I don't think he's in the conversation. I think it's between Mahomes and Tua. So it'll be interesting to see what happens Sunday morning in that matchup over in Germany.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks for listening, guys. Thank you for subscribing. We're getting close to 200 for Nate's show here. We really do appreciate the engagement. And if you haven't done so, please hit the subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple, or, hop on YouTube, just subscribe with your significant others or your kids' YouTube account. All of them, please. It just kind of helps push this thing out to more people for us to annoy. But we'll be back next week with Nate's recap and then the Week 9 preview show later in the week. Have a phenomenal weekend. Best of luck in your fantasy and sports betting endeavors. And we will talk to you guys soon. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.